Hi there, and welcome to this short tutorial on the Zibo 737-800. Setting up the FMC from cold and dark. You'll see me here in the foreground in the Zibo KLM livery here at London's Gatwick Airport. If we step aboard the aircraft, you'll see that we are in cold and dark state. All I've done is switch on the dome light, which you'll see here in the bright position. Everything else is off. At this point we can see that there is ground power supplied from the gate, either with a cart or with an umbilical here at Gatwick, and is available to us. The first thing we need to do is turn on the battery power, and we can confirm that we're getting 24 volts from the batteries, and the cockpit annunciators have come alive. As we're on battery power, only the cockpit, the pilot side displays in the cockpit come on. At this point we want to ensure that we're safe. The gear lever is down and locked, speed brakes are parked, flaps are fully up, throttles are fully back at the idle position, the fuel cut-off levers are in the cut-off position, and brakes are on. At this point as well we can check that the fire alarm warnings are working. The lights here come on when you throw the test switch to the left, and once to the right we can see that the three masthead lights for engines and APUs come on, and the fire warning light illuminates as well. So that is all working. We can also press here to ensure that the cargo hold bottles are full and the alarm comes on, along with the fire warning light in the main six-pack annunciators. So we are happy that everything is in working order. Again, at this point we've selected mains power, and we're now no longer draining the battery. At this point the doors would be open and boarding would commence, and so we can at this point close the exit lights and ensure that the seatbelt sign are illuminated. We can switch on the yaw damper. Actually we can't. At this point we should go into the upper overhead and turn on the inertial reference system, which is here. At this point I like to choose system or status and rotate both the left and the right. Units to nav, they come into the aligned state, and we can see I've got this on a short setup, and that should be available in 1 minute. Checking the leading edge device lights are all correct, and I listen to the airspeed overspeed warning. Slightly different tones for pilot and co-pilot, and if we come back down to this position we can initialize the FMC. FMC selected, and this opening page ident shows that we are here in a 737 version 800 with winglets, and we can just check that we do in fact have winglets, and the engines are rated at 26,000 pounds pressure. The nav data is actually AIRAC 1912, which is November-December of 2019, and is current. This is the software version of the FMC, and gets updated by maintenance. We can think about this as starting top left and working down the left soft keys, and then top right working down to the bottom right, and always the next page in order is shown here on the bottom right. And you can understand that the FMC wants us to enter the IRS position, and the next page is the position initialize page. So we can clear this message in the scratch pad by pressing clear and starting in the upper left the reference airport. We are at London's Gatwick Airport, which is Echo Golf Kilo Kilo, and that goes in there. We are on a gate, and if you don't know the gate, it's very easy just to call up the flight configuration page and see here that we're at ramp 105, and that can easily be input 105. That's not essential, but if you want to play by the rules, it's good. The next thing is that we need to give it a current position. To review these registers here, the last position of the last known position of the aircraft was at this point, and the reference airport Gatwick is at this point. Now this is a datum point and is generally in the centre of the main runway, so we're certainly not there. And of course this aircraft could have been towed or moved around the airfield between flights, so we definitely want to put the current position in here, and that's easily done. We're on page 1 of 3. We just go to the next page, 2 of 3, and pick up one of these reference positions, which is put down here in the scratch pad, and we just simply go back to the previous page and input it to this position. And you'll see that almost immediately the nav display and the MFD are populated. So next is route. Now very cleverly the computer realizes that we're going to take off from Gatwick, so it's positioned there. I like to do a short flight on these tests just across to the Channel Islands from Gatwick, and Jersey is my preferred test destination. Echo Golf Juliet Juliet. That goes in here. I generally fly as Presidential 175, and any of you that watch Corporate Pilot Life will know what that was all about. If we go over to the EFB and choose Avitab airports, if you have the Navigraph airport, you'll understand how this works. This is all the information about Gatwick, 192 feet above sea level. Here are the frequencies involved. Here's the information about the runways. 08 left is 08 right. This runway, 8 left and 26 right, is actually the emergency runway here at Gatwick, and is generally used as a taxiway unless the main runway is out of action. So 08 right, 26 left is the runway of choice here, unless there's an emergency. So that narrows things down. We can see here that at 06:20 this morning, the wind 260 at 08 knots means that we will be using runway 26 left. Good visibility, scattered clouds, and the QNH here in the UK hectopasses 0991. So we can put that information in straight from the start. So we can run this, which adjusts our QNH 0991. As you can see, as I wind it down, this represents ground level and is coming up to meters here, 991, and you can see that the aircraft altitude and the ground level coincide, and a 192, which is the airfield's elevation above sea level, is there, so this is a correct setting. If we come back here, we also know that we are going to depart from 26 left. That can go in there. Now, company route and save route are available here. If I wanted to recall a route, I could simply type in the scratch pad and press on the soft key number 2 here on the left side, and that would call up the settings of a saved route. And for ease, the convention is to use the origin airport plus the destination airport. And then you could add a suffix on here, perhaps the 738 for this aircraft if you flew multiple aircrafts, or you could have version 0.1, anything you fancy adding along here, just to give it a unique file name to save, and then of course you could recall that at any time. What we're going to do is we're going to program a flight from scratch. So we go to the next page, and this is where we start programming our flight. Let me just call up SimBrief, and you'll see that I have programmed a flight here from Gatwick to Jersey. The alternate is Heathrow. Cruise flight level 200. Excuse me. Block fuel just under £14,000, and our route is using the SID Bognor 1 Mike to Bognor, then direct to Hawke, down the M189 airway to Neville, the UM189 airway to Anglo, and then onto the Jersey to Bravo arrival. And I will program those things in. At this point, what we need to do is to ensure that we have the correct fuel on board. The zero fuel weight is 103.7, the payload is 12.4, and the fuel on board is 13.4, which is sufficient to take off weight being 117.1. If this was under, you had insufficient fuel here, you would need to put some fuel in, and with the new Zibo you would call the fuel truck who would begin to fill the aircraft. Not required at this point. We can of course go back to this position. So here we are at the programming the route into the FMC, and we can start by choosing the departure, which is here, Gatwick departure. We already told it that we're leaving on the 26 left, so it's minimized the options to the SIDS leaving from 26 left, and there are 5 pages of them, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we want the Bognor 1 Mike. Bognor 1 Mike, and as you saw, this dotted magenta line then creates the route from that. Back to the route page, and page 2, and we can see Bognor is there. So we're now going direct to Hawke, Hawke, and that goes on the right hand side, and this gives us an option of 3 waypoints, all known as Hawke. They are listed in proximity, so this is the nearest one, North 50, which is the UK. These probably are obviously in the southern hemisphere, so they can't be the ones, so we'll choose the top one. Next we'll travel down the Mike 189 airway. This goes in this side. The discontinuity has popped up because it doesn't know where we want to come off the airway, so once we tell it that we want to come off at Neville, Neville, it is now happy. We then get on the UM189 as far as Anglo, ANGLO, to there, and then we go from there onto the Jersey to Bravo SID. So if we go back to departures and arrivals, we will arrive into Jersey. Again, ILS 26, and we will use the Jersey to Bravo. There it is, arrival. Okay, so here is the route page. We can activate and execute that. If we go to our legs, we can see that this includes an awful lot of additional waypoints to those we put in, which are those which lie on the airways. So that's the route program totally in there. It's always good to check that you haven't made any errors, and that's easily done by switching to the plan mode on the EFIS, which brings us up this display, and and puts in this step button, and the center of this display is 710, which we need to clear at a height above 710 feet. We can count our way through these just to ensure that there's nothing crazy. There is Bognor, which is the departure from the SID, and we need to be over that at 6,000 feet. In fact, those last three waypoints at 6,000, and then we will be cleared obviously up to our cruise altitude from there. There's Hawk, right turn, Ospol, Nurks, Neville, Anglo, the D1KRO, Bevav, and onto the Jersey VOR. So that's confirmed that we are correct in our flight programming, and we can move on from there. There is a small anomaly. I don't know, this will probably not be there in yours, but I have this recreation of the EFIS dial as a reflection. It's actually that scale there which is appearing. I'm sure that'll be resolved in one of the many updates. So if we go back to our next page, if we were in route, it would ask us to move to the performance initiate page, and here we go with the zero fuel weight, which we checked. We can simply press the line select key, and that gives us 103.7, which is our total weight of the aircraft and passengers and cargo, and the fuel on board 13.4 gives us the gross weight. 117.1 is the sum of these two figures. It's only about 3 tons to get to Jersey, so I simply put that in there, and worst case I would want to come back here to Gatwick or Heathrow, as it says in the sim brief plan, approximately 3 to get back here. Cost index is a figure designed by the operator and is about fuel usage, performance. It's a calculation done by them. SimBrief actually gives us it as 65 today, so you can work from the SimBrief figures. 500 is the maximum and would allow you to fly with total disregard for fuel consumption, etc., at maximum speeds, so you get some idea of the attempts to save fuel and fly. In consideration of that, 65 goes in there. Based on these figures and the state of the route, the winds, it computes that the best flight level to cruise at is 237. SimBrief suggests 200 based on direction of travel, and that simply goes in there. Again, from SimBrief, if I show you this briefly, the average wind 286 at 25, and the ISA at -4 figures are here, and they can be simply added at these next points. 285 / 25 goes in here, and the ISA is minus. This plus minus figure only gives minus if you've obviously plus is presumed unless you select it. -4. Okay, here is the transition altitude here in the UK, 6,000 feet from the point you go from heights to flight levels. Execute this page, and this is now the active performance data for the aircraft on this flight. Then we need to go to the next page, N1 limits, and it wants to know the outside air temperature. This is provided up here, +8. You could put 8 in there if you wanted to, but it's much easier just to press the button and it populates automatically. I will use the full power today, and you can see that it suggests 98.1 as a setting of N1, and you can confirm this by these green entries here, 98.1 on both engines, and you can see this pointer, the Y pointer here, at approximately 98.1. So that's correct. If we were to derate, which we could do, to 22k, 91.7 would be the takeoff setting, and again it's positioned here. Nice long runway at Gatwick, so we can leave it there. Takeoff page, generally flaps 5 is in use for standard takeoffs, so that can go in there as a flap setting. Centre of gravity is computed, and the trim set should be at 4.3, let's say, and even though this scale is not very fine, we can probably set that around there at 4.25. Here it's computed the V speeds, V1 rotate at 124 and V2 133. So at this point you can see that 26 left is actually 10,000 feet long, 3,000 meters, so lots of room there. 133 is the important figure here, because now we can transfer that up to the MCP as our takeoff. V to 133. And whilst I'm here, I will switch the flight directors on my side as master and switch on the right hand seat one. I'll select rejected takeoff in the anti-skid, and that is set correctly. At this point, if you have better pushback, it's time to call them out. Here's the plan, and using the comma key you can zoom out to give yourself a better idea of the layout of the airfield. I'm going to want to taxi to this point over here, so I will want to turn facing this way, and I will call that as my position for pushback.
Ground to cockpit. Fine acknowledged. Call me through the menu when you are ready.
Okay, I am ready. So there's the request.
Ground to cockpit. Tow is driving up.
Okay. Last minute adjustments. I would generally choose the FMC on this side and put the as a single operator. Look at the status page. So here we are on the stand. What we now want to do is to start the APU, and it's generally using the fuel pump number 3, I think, is it fuel pump forward 1, is the easiest to get to replace. So generally the pump there is used to run the APU because it gets more time.
Okay, all doors and hatches are closed and ready to connect.
Service stroke replaced more often. So we can see the lower pressure lights come on, the ignition has happened, and the exhaust gas temperature is rising. Keep an eye on this. That's plateaued there. And is coming down. Just watching this light to make sure that it becomes available, and we will choose the APU. At this point, however, now what we want to do is to set
connected and bypass and inserting. Release parking brake.
Set our settings here. We chose to fly at 20,000, and I know that Jersey is 300. So here we need to set our bleed valves, center one on, and we can see that the bleed air is rising. This will supply bleed air for the engine start process. Packs are off, and at this point we can run our last checks. Yaw damper can come on. All 4 pumps now can come on. Everything looks okay there. Just waiting for the APU. Which I have selected already, I think. Hydraulics on. Lighting on. Bleed air on. Everything looks okay there. And we can just make sure that the tug is in position. And holding down the foot brakes disconnects the parking brake, and pushback can start.
Starting pushback. And you may start engine. And you may start
engines. So pushback is underway. I'm starting number 2 first. Down here to watch things progress. Everything's looking good. M2 is rising, and at 25 we will open the fuel valve. Fuel has started to flow. Exhaust gas temperature rising. M1 rising. Pushback happening. Spar valve closed. Everything is closing up and stabilising. 246 is generally the thing to look for. That seems to be alright. So we can start engine number 1. Coming up to 25 N2, introduce the fuel. Keeping an eye on hot starts.
Operation complete. Operation set parking complete. Brake. Set parking brake.
Parking brake.
Disconnecting tow. Stand by. Stand by.
Both engines stable. And at this point I can switch on the auto throttle and VNAV. We have a mark here, anti-ice, and that's because we need to turn on the bleeds and turn the packs to auto, and everything there is correct. We now can get the
tow is disconnected and body gasket has been removed. Hand signal on the left. Hand signal see you next time and have a safe flight.
Thank you. We can now get the engine generators online and switch on the pitot tube heats. Here goes the tug. Okay, there's the wave. We can now switch on some lighting. We can switch off the APU, and we are ready now. Cabin is secured. Flaps 5 set. Last minute check. System's good, no warnings. I would then select the legs page and once getting our clearance, the convention is to leave a 1 there. I'm cleared to the Hawk's Head 6,000 feet. Okay, brakes off. I left my engines, no config warning. Straighten her up on the line and taxi now down towards the runway hold. That's how I do things. I hope that if you've watched all the way through, it gives you some idea and some confidence in doing it yourself. I hope this helps, and thanks for watching.